What up, guys? Welcome back to Shifting Lanes Garage. My name's Chad, and this is my 2015 Mustang GT with boost. And the last time you saw her, well, she was doing this. All right. 705. Hold on. 705 rear wheel horsepower, all going through a manual gearbox. This thing is an absolute monster. It is easily the most powerful car I've ever owned. It's got more power than a Hellcat, more power than a GT500. It is an absolute rocket ship. Here's the thing, in today's video, we're actually gonna talk about just how much this thing actually cost to build her. You could theoretically do this at home, but we're just gonna talk about just how much money I spent in parts to get this thing up to its level. I mean, it's not just making 705 horsepower, it's making 705 reliable horsepower. It should be reliable. We have things in this car that are way overbuilt for the power levels we're at, and I know we have a lot of power. Let's talk about one of the first mods I did to this car, and that was wheels and tires. We have P51 19-inch tires on all four corners, 10 and a half inches in the front and 11 and a half inches in the back. And we have Nitto 05s, NT05s on here, 305/35 on the back, 275/35 on the front. The total set me back about $2,928. Now, again, wheels and tires, that's kind of your own thing. You can spend as much money or as little money as you want. The bottom line here is that the skinny little 275s out rear would definitely not done a great job holding all this power, especially when we stand on it. For driving around town, sure. But when we go to the track, when we do all that sort of stuff, you need thicker rubber to such an extent that I'm actually thinking about getting wider rear rubber and wider front rubber just to make sure we're handling all the power. Alrighty, under the hood to all the goods. We'll get to you in just a second, and you, and you, and you, and all of that. But first, one of the, again, the first real performance mods I did is buried underneath there is a set of 1 7/8 inch primaries, American Racing long tube headers, and those set me back $2,456. This is actually a 2018 intake manifold off of a, obviously 2018 or newer Mustang GT, and it is ported. This plays well with boost. That plays nice with that. We also locked out the IMRCs, which are little things in there that you can't really see. You can actually see it. It's that red thing right in the center of your screen there. Again, just to play nicer with boost. And that all in set me back about $700. Now on the back of the car, we go. Now this exhaust came with the car. But that is a MagnaFlow 3-inch Comp Series catback exhaust. And that set me back, or set the original owner back, about $1,300. Wow, we're gonna stumble over numbers here today, guys. $1,380. It's a decent system. It's definitely one of those things I want to replace. Now, this whole setup was kind of phase one of the build. And it basically was good enough for 444 horsepower at the rear tire. As a point of comparison, it made 394 horsepower at the rear tire. We just did that obviously as a baseline and things of that nature. All right, the next few mods are basically required to keep this thing reliable. So we're just gonna go rapid fire through them, and we'll just have the editing team throw the prices up as we go through it. So, without further ado, starting out back here, we have Ford Performance axles, which are capable of 1,500 horsepower. Yes, I am keenly aware we're about half that, but beefy axles helps with wheel hop, all that other sort of stuff, because the suspension on this from the previous owner is actually a set of I-back lowering springs and sway bars. I like the sway bars, lowering springs. I'd like to get some nice coilovers. Video for another day. We also, right around there, where we obviously can't see again, we have a drive shaft shop, one-piece carbon fiber drive shaft. Basically, so when the drive shaft fails, I shouldn't say when, please God, not when. So if the drive shaft fails, carbon fiber just kind of goes poof. it's an inaccurate representation, but if it were to break, it doesn't beat up your tunnel. It's just nicer to the car should it fail. You don't have to worry about sharp aluminum or whatever beating around in your the tunnel there. Moving on, we have, again, behind the engine, there's the engine, there it is. Behind the engine there, we have a Mantic 2-piece clutch with Carrera metallic pucks on there and a single mass lightweight flywheel. Again, this is just for throttle response, and so, you know, we don't cook the clutch. If you saw some previous videos, the reason we kind of got the build done when we did, clutch go boom, in a pretty spectacular fashion, but we're trying to avoid that because I want to drive this. I don't want it to be in the shop or anything like that. And then the biggie, the biggest part of the entire driveline is, again, right in there, there is a Calmer MT82. Basically, they rebuild it with G-Force billet gear set, bronze guides, carbon synchros, the works, which basically means that this transmission that does break under stock power now can hold almost 1,000 pound-foot of torque, roughly. And we mated that to an MGW shifter relocation kit that also kind of doubles as a short throw shifter. Basically, the stock one bolts to kind of the tunnel, the whole shift mechanism bolts to the tunnel. This bolts directly to the transmission. So while it does give a lot more feedback, because obviously the body moves and the transmission move in different rates, basically it's a much nicer and more accurate shifting motion. One of the things that breaks these is imprecise shifts. You're not quite in gear, you get on the power, bang, goes your, basically your fancy new transmission. Well, fancy new from Ford, not fancy, hopefully mine does. Moving back into the engine bay, we have NGK 6510 LTR 7iX spark plugs. We also have, somewhere in there is a 170-degree performance thermostat, and we also have down in the belly of the engine, we have MMR billet, oil pump gear, and crank sprocket combo. Another known sort of weak point of these cars is the oil pump gears. It's powdered metal. They're known to fail. And then last of the fun sort of keep everything safe is a UPR catch can. Basically, these things have a lot of blow-by or crankcase pressure stock without boost, and well, we've added boost. So basically we're letting the engine breathe a little better, let all that oil and stuff that comes through not get into our intake tract, which basically lowers octane, gums everything up. And if you're lowering octane with the boost levels we're at, well, it's not a great thing because you could be prone to knock, or computer will pull timing and you'll lose horsepower because of it. And then we have the star of the show. Now, this is a Vortec V3 centrifugal supercharger with, I think, the 3.6-inch pulley on the back here. This thing was not cheap. So everything you see here, from that relocation, the airbox, all the piping, the front mount intercooler, which is hopefully visible through there, this whole thing set me back $6,582, which is a lot. They do make kits that have a full fuel system for a little bit more money, but again, I wanted to go and make everything safe with the most possible power, which is why we also have a lethal performance fuel system with IDX 1050 injectors. We have a set of, we actually have two Walboro 265 LPH fuel pumps in the back to feed this beast, so we have a proper fueling system. But that whole fuel system ended up costing $2,620. Yeah, I might have forgotten something, but long and short of it is, I bought this car a second time. I bought this car for $25,000 back in 2019, December of 2019, and then I put in a grand total, and the number should be right here, of $29,101. That, again, doesn't take into account things like labor. A lot of this stuff you can do. I'd rather have professionals do it. If you ever saw any of our Blue Sky stuff, you know these guys know this engine inside out and backwards. It was in very, very good hands. We have a Lund Racing tune, and we used Blue Sky's dyno. If you haven't seen those videos, definitely go back, check them out, because they are a riot. This thing is an absolute animal, and it sounds ridiculous indoors. So there you have it, guys. Now, should I have gotten a GT350? No. I always choose the building the fast car option. Sorry if I'm sweating like a mother. It is humid as hell, and you'd think with the shade it'd be fine. But at any rate, I've always been a fan. Like I said, build them, don't buy them, because let's face it, it's more unique this way, and I'm not done with her. We still have some body mods to do, a wing or rear spoiler, mess with the front end. Again, I want to do good coilovers just because those lowering springs don't really help the car hook. They're just there. I mean, it gives it a great stance. I mean, you can't deny that, but they're not exactly great for drag racing, really great for what I want to do with this car, which is a lot. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments below, what's the most money you've ever spent on one car? The most I've ever spent on a single vehicle. And if you would do this build, or you do a build like it or anything like that, let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there, smash the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn notifications on so you don't miss any of our videos as we release them. Oh my, this is an absolute riot to drive, guys. It is way too powerful, but that's kind of why I love it, kind of why I did it. It is so much fun. Not without faults, I'm sure you've noticed that. We'll get to that in the next video. But as for this one, that's a wrap, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.